Hey guys, thanks for stopping by on a tasty Tuesday. I gotta copy this link and get it to Malt so he can join. I don't want to mess that up like I did I'm not sure if it was last time or the time before that, but it's always embarrassing when you're not prepared. And the sad thing is, that last little review was not the greatest because I forgot almost all about Tasty Tuesday. I was not paying close enough attention. I just about messed that one up too. Let's see here. Link. Send him that. How you guys doing? We have had a good week, and this time. Sorry about the delay. Last time, Malt and I did the Elsa Bay 2.1 Sweet Smoke and the what was it? The Ardbeg Blazda. And this time, thankfully, the salsa arrived because it wasn't here before for some reason. Kind of got lost in translation. But we are going to look at the Highland Park 12 and the Highland Park 21. Hey, guys, good to see you, Daniel. Thanks for coming. I'm doing pretty well. I'm really glad it's Tuesday, Tasty Tuesday. Hey, Hawaii, Mr. Juan Cotilla. Cantilla, probably. I hope I don't butcher the pronunciation of that. I apologize. Silver Lock, good to see you, man. What are you guys sipping already? Hopefully, you got your chance to get a Highland Park 12 by now, or a Highland Park 21, even if you get it lucky enough. And even if that wasn't that one, maybe an 18, 15, Valkyrie, a Valknut, a Volfather, a Dark Origins, a Twisted Tattoo. I could go on forever. Sven, Thor, Fire, Ice. I almost got them all memorized. Einar, Ragnar. Oh man, there's a ton of them. It's scary. How many, how many Highland Parks can you name and when sitting without any help? That'd be an awesome contest to get like a free bottle of the best like Highland Park 50 or something, man. I'd sit there and I'd name all of them off. I'd go through all the travel retail exclusives. I would go through every little side offer they've got. Hey, Emily, nice to see you as well. And Mark, yes, HP 12 is getting poured right now. Looks like Las Cause is having that Kilhoman STR, the charred. Got that gray bottle up there, matter of fact, and that was a good one. It wasn't like a blow my socks away, fantastic, but it was still solid. It was a solid entry. Uh-oh, here we go. Mr. Dustin, due to hate for Helen Park's marketing department, I would name no Helen Parks but the 25. I love it, man. Great to see you, Dustin. You always make me laugh, too. In a good way. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at what you're saying because it's true. It's to a point because I was feeling kind of weird saying Volfather and Val Kilmer and whatever else. Hey, Trooper, good to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing okay down there. Did you? I'm assuming that you didn't have a lot of hardship through the hurricanes. Let us know how you did with that, and hopefully you've got a good one. Hopefully you're not on the rig unless you want to be working right now, and if you are, hopefully you got your hands on a decent cup of salsa. We'll say. I can't wait to get into some of this stuff. It's going to be fun. We're just talking about how many Highland Parks are there. Yeah, it's crazy. Just stick to the Highland Park core range and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to talk to. It's a good point to bring up, Silver. I'm going to bring this up with Muser as far as what are the good ones? Because there's some hit and misses, just like a lot of these distilleries that offer a shit ton of different offerings. Hey, Telex, everyone. Hope all's well. Yeah, you too, Andrew. Got the long rope. Ooh, long repeated. Got that one behind me. You can't. I'm blocking it with my big head, but I've got that bottle back there too, and that's pretty good, man. Oh, McAllen, Fine and Rare. Nice to see you. I just found 2,552 Highland Park bottlings on Whiskey Base. Jeez, that's crazy. That's insane. McKellen's got their fair share of extras, especially those high-end Laliques. Can you say what was it? The M number 6 or some craziness. Oh man, just dropping in to show some love. I appreciate it. Good to see you. And speaking of love, Mr. Love, how you doing, man?
Telex, the whiskey tack. What is up, my friend? Happy Highland Park Tuesday.
I was so excited about diving into both of these, really. And it didn't take a lot of arm twisting, but we were talking about what's a really good 12 that people, if they don't know it, they should know it. And this is definitely my top 4. How about you as far as the 12, right?
I love Highland Park 12. Other ones I'd throw up there, Kalila 12, Anok 12. I mean, well, I'm not going to say Lagavulin 12 or Springbank 12 because those are specialties. Anok 12, Old Pulteney 12.
Mine would be like Bunnahabhain 12, Kilkerran 12.
Yeah, for sure.
That Highland Park and definitely Glendronach 12. That's got to be up there for me. Is one of my. I just love a really good deep sherry.
Yeah, we were just chatting a little bit on the happy hour on my channel about all the crazy amount of Highland Park releases. It's I can't even keep track of half of them. But what I was mentioning was, and why I think tonight will be a lot of fun is, to be honest, I'm skeptical about a lot of them, but I do give them a second look because honestly, I've never had a bad Highland Park. It's not like some distilleries where you've had, a real miss. I've never had a real miss with Highland Park. I'm just so skeptical about the 5 million different releases that they have. And it's like something every week.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Glendronach is one of those where they do a lot of different things, especially if you do some of their travel retail stuff or some of the stuff you can only get in the UK. But it's rare to see really a miss from them like you do. Like Lafroig's got the Select and Ardbeg's got the Blazda or whatever, or the NO, or however you feel about that. And even Bunnahabhain, I mean, to me, the first choice check was just kind of not there for me. The second one's great, but the first one just didn't do it for me. So, but that happens. But yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. A lot of the travel retail exclusives of Highland Park I've had the Sven, the Einar. Been lucky enough to have some of the off ones, you might say, and like you said, they are actually all pretty good. I've never had what I would consider below a 3-star whiskey out of some of those weird, and they're not expensive. I mean, you get a liter for $70, $80. It's not like it's they're trying to charge you $150 for it.
Yeah, I mean, I recently reviewed the Highland Park 16 years old Twisted Tattoo, which again was I bought it because it had the AH statement, because I'm if there's I have to figure out some way to make a choice on one of these Highland Parks. I mean, it was under $100. I was okay. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but definitely an above average whiskey. It had really good flavor. It had, it was 46.7%. It checked some of the boxes. I just wish they didn't filter their whiskey.
I saw your review on that. I purposely went back and I saw I followed you and subscribed, and I got the notification when you released it. And I'm thinking, I know I had this whiskey because I remember it being enjoyable to a pretty good extent, where I would probably gave it a 4 out of 5 or a 3.75.
Yeah, I think you give it a 3.5.
Yeah, 3.75 is probably where I would have fell in, but that was one of the better ones that and I think the 16 years really helped out a lot with that. Yeah,
I mean I don't know, because I can't compare it. I've not really messed around with a lot of their NASs, but I have to say, the 16 years was just the signal for me that I knew what I was buying. I knew I was getting a 16-year-old whiskey. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be amazing. It is just a number after all, but it is an indicator of some degree that you have a more sense of what you're buying.
I was going to say, you hit the nail on the head with that review. That was really, really a good one. And if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out, guys. I went back and I couldn't find the review that I did on it. I must have enjoyed the bottle, but maybe I was taking a break at the time and didn't do a review on it. So I missed out on that one as far as getting the word out. But I would agreed with you completely on that one.
Oh, well, right on, man. I'd love to find one that you disagree with me on. That'll be fun. Maybe we'll disagree tonight.
Didn't we?
We've got two things to do.
Didn't we? We weren't too. I don't think we agreed completely on that Glendronach 12. I think I liked it a lot more than you do.
12. Yeah.
'Cause I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think you gave it like a 3.5 or something like that. Or do you remember?
Maybe 3.5, maybe 3.25. I don't quite remember.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sure we'll like if we ever have one of these really crazy ones. Like I had this Octomore 7.3 that was absolutely horrible. Like I give it like a 1.5 out of 5. But the 7.1 and the 7.2 I thought were outstanding, great. The 7.3 I had is like durian fruit. It was horrible. So if we ever run into something like that, I bet you we'll have a big disagreement on it.
Yeah.
I end up liking it because some people like durian fruit,
I've been surprised so far since we've been doing this. You and I are usually not too far off from each other, but I do think that with time, and we just put a whole bunch of samples in each other's hands, especially when you and I do our bourbon night, which maybe we'll think about doing relatively soon. I think I gave you a Four Roses single barrel proof, and also the new Elijah Craig barrel proof, where maybe you and I will have some disagreements there, but that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll have to try to surprise you with a couple things on the side that's like that. But it'll be tough to find something that you haven't had probably before.
Oh yeah, but it's all good fun, and we'll get into kind of what we might be doing over the next couple of weeks a bit later in the show. But before we dive into this, have you got anything new in the last week or so, Telex, since we last talked?
I have not, but I have been looking forward to doing that Altmore 21 and the Tamdu 15 and the other ones that we'll talk about later. But
yeah.
I'm looking forward to trying to get my hands on like the Anok 12 we talked about, maybe the Lacheg 10 if I can get my hands on one of those too.
Oh, yeah.
But I need to sit down with you and go. Last week we went over a list of what would be some of our favorite really high end bottles and some of our other like 10 and 12-year-olds that we might want to throw in on the first hour, and so hopefully maybe not after this right away, but maybe tomorrow or the next day I'll send you a couple ideas of what I had to go ahead and get, because I do need to go ahead and get something coming in, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about this a little bit each week, but our goal is really to taste something that's really accessible, that most folks should be able to find somewhat easily, both price and availability wise in the first hour. And the second hour, we'll try to do something a little bit more interesting in the terms of exclusivity or age. So that's kind of the format we're striving towards. I hope you guys have all been enjoying it so far as the Telex and Malt show has been evolving. But, with that, why don't we get into a incredibly classic whiskey, the Highland Park 12.
Exactly. 1 second.
Yeah.
Daniel remembers me telling him not to get to 21. And I think the only reason I was hesitant about it, Daniel, because the 18 is so readily available, and it's a lot lower than the 21 as far as price. I think the 21 is about $240. You can get the 18 for like I think $130 or something really reasonable. So for the age difference, I thought it just might be a better starting point if you haven't had an Altmore already. I had the 18 or 16 or whatever before, so I already knew I kind of liked the profile, and that's why I went ahead and did the 21. But I would never recommend someone just out of the gate started a 21-year-old unless I definitely already knew for a fact they liked at least that distillery. What about you, Malt? Wouldn't you kind of do the same thing if you were?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, availability plays such a big role in this, but yeah, I'm with you on that for the most part. Yeah.
It's hard to recommend something right out of the gate at that age unless...
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean...
Unless you're Richie Rich, maybe.
Yeah, right. I hesitate to encourage a huge investment in something if you've not at least got a sense of their profile or, are in that kind of intermediate level range of Scotch drinking, but...
Here he is. He's like, it was because I could get the Kriegelke 23, for the same price. That's why I was like, man, the 17 was so damn good that if you're comparing it to an Altmore, I kind of like the Kriegelke profile maybe a little more, but I'm more of a spice fan than some people, so it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Mm.
So why don't we chat Highland Park 12?
Yeah,
So
sorry about the delay.
Yeah, no worries. So let's get into the Highland Park 12. So basically, small caveat. The Highland Park 12 that I have here is actually the so this is circa 2016 labeling, whereas I know yours has the new Viking labeling.
It's gaudy.
Yes, it is. They are both 43%. They're still both natural color. They are chill filtered, and they are 12 years old. However, I did do so. There has been some level of controversy and chatter specifically about whether when Highland Park changed their logos, the whiskey took a dive or a change for that matter. I don't know if it's true or not. A lot of people have said it about the 12 and the 18. I did do a comparison video on my channel between the 12 and the 12 Viking Honor and this 12 regular one. I did notice some subtle differences, but I couldn't say definitively that it wasn't batch variation. So I didn't proclaim any. I tried to be. But I think what we're talking about here is still essentially the same juice. So I don't think anybody should be too holding that caveat in too much regard.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The only thing I noticed a difference of was the peat, the matchstick sulfur level was a little bit heavier on this one, but the one that you're having seemed a little more refined overall, even though it's their same.
Yeah, I think that's right. That
wasn't the only difference though that I got out of it.
I felt this one was a little bit more rounded, which could speak to just maybe a little bit older whiskey or better casks. But again, I it's hard to compare without doing a whole bunch of them because batch variation is what it is, even as much as they try to make them very similar. So with that kind of caveat, let's dive in.
Oh man, I love that tea/honey combination I get right off the bat, and that heather, that trademark heather that Highland Park's got.
Yeah, honey, you nailed it on the head. There's also just there's juicy red fruits for me. I want to say it's strawberry, raspberry. There's also just the bourbon notes. It's not assertive dark notes. It's like more caramel, light caramel, maybe like toffee.
Yeah.
And then there's that edgy smoke that's just kind of wrapped around it.
Some sweet caramel in there too.
Some
sweet caramel in there too.
Yeah, really fresh whiskey.
And you still got a lot of florals in the background too, all kind of surrounding it, which is nice.
Big time.
Oh, it's so sweet. It's my perfect sweet level. I could see why some people might think that's a bit sweet, but I think it's the perfect balance with all the other flavors you're getting with it.
I just love that nose, man. It is, apricot too. Orange, apricot. There's a bit of those kind of orangey notes. Kind of the dried, not so much dried fruit. It's more fresh fruit, I should say. But yeah, orange, almost like tangerine.
Yeah, it's a combination of like your red fruits and your citrus fruits together. It's nice.
And then there's some spice. It's nutmeg, it's allspice, it's cinnamon. The more you deeper go into it, that's kind of what I'm getting here, which I characteristic of kind of like the bourbon spice notes, but it's not dark spice. It's not like molasses, caramel, dark caramels. It's much lighter bourbon notes, which I think is just
And that's what's weird about this is it's all ex-sherry. It's not ex-bourbon casks at all. Yeah. It's all 100%. And 20% of the casks were supposedly first fill sherry on this one.
Which is where I think that richness is coming from.
Yeah. I wish everyone did their sherry casks like this.
Right. Here we go. Let's launch it.
Mm-hmm. Man, if I can't get my hands on a Lagavulin, this is like the next best thing.
Really rich and soft on the mouth on the delivery.
Yeah, it's got a nice mouth coat.
Coats the mouth, and then it goes into a nice drying spice, And then the juicy fruit gum, the fruit notes just start popping, mouth-wateringly so.
Yeah, it's got a really nice white and black pepper kind of combination.
Yeah, the honey too, a little bit of tropical fruit. That smoke is just there in the background. It's almost like menthol, but not quite. It's like a light charcoal kind of thing.
In the finish, I get a lot of like a pineapple and
yeah,
cream almost.
Yeah, big time. And it's a medium long mouthfeel or finish.
Yeah, for a 12-year, it's surprisingly long comparatively to other ones I've had.
I'm gonna go a little bit of water.
Yeah, it doesn't need it, but it's always good to kind of give it another extra look. But just out of the gate, neat. If you can, I mean, I've only found it at one restaurant, believe it or not, and this was in DC actually. You don't see Highland Park in restaurants very often, do you?
No.
Isn't that strange to you? Like, because it's really easy to find like Macallan and even Glenfiddich and Glenlivet at pretty much every restaurant you go. But
orchard fruit, man, God, apples on the nose now. Also, like slight like lemon meringue, like creamy lemon.
I mean, like stone fruit, yeah.
Oh, and then that spice, that there's that just core of spice where you're getting those kind of baking spices. You're thinking maybe not as strong as clove, but again, all spice.
Yeah.
Earlier, nutmeg.
Yeah, it's funny because the nutmeg cinnamon combination here is really even balanced. It's almost one of the most well balanced whiskeys I've had in a while. Just thinking about all the different flavors because we're going florals, we're going everything, but like there's no really herbal notes in this whiskey.
Yeah, no.
But that's the only thing I think that they're not really touching in this one, if you think about it. Might not have grain characteristics either, but like grain and herbal notes are the only things that really aren't prominent.
Sweet, spicy, drying on the palate.
It even has like a dark chocolate kind of note.
Oh, yeah.
Like a roasted mocha kind of thing going on.
Oh, with water that really extends that mouthfeel on this. White chocolate. Almost like a grape. There's almost like a maybe not grape, dark cherry or like red grape.
Yeah, it's that medium ruby red fruit.
And again, medium long finish. You're left with like amaretto, like a chocolate almond kind of mix. There's the fruit. Again, popping juicy fruits. They're just popping. You get a little bit of that effervescence of the peat.
Yeah, my only complaint, I mean, it's not really a complaint. It's more of like a style thing. It's a little dry on the finish for me, but I do like the flavor a lot. It's even though it's a dried finish, the flavor lasts a long time. So I can.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a tannic drying. It's not tannic like overly wine cask or like a red wine. It's much more of a cinnamon spice drying.
It's funny how our palates are actually pretty close as far as we get really similar stuff off this. It's funny.
Melon too. Melon.
I'm getting a lot of dark stuff now, so I'm missing the melon, but I can see where this one really changes a lot too, which is, it's good to be interesting, I think, as a whiskey.
Yep.
As long as it doesn't give you like a bunch of different notes where half of them are things you don't like. That has happened before to me.
Yeah, there's no bitter in this. I think you were saying earlier there's no
herbal.
Yeah, there's no herbal. There's no like kind of vegetal grassiness. There's no bitter in it either. It's much more on the sweeter side. It's much more on the fruit side. Oh man. Just, I don't want to say it punches above its weight, but I think it sets a bar for what you should expect from a 12-year-old whiskey.
Oh yeah, I mean the fact that this is natural color alone is kind of a really nice thing, and being all like sherry. I wish they were a little more vocal about the chill filtering. It's kind of
I'm pretty sure they chill filter. I don't see any mist in this at all.
it's really weird, but that's okay. It does have a great taste, and yeah, I mean, if you look at sorry, I almost knocked my headset off. If you look at anybody's 12, if they, I mean, I would definitely pick this above Kalila only because sometimes I'm not in the mood for that vegetal peat that Kalila's got.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't even go. I'm not even sure I would. I'm not. I mean, this is not a heavily peated whiskey.
Right.
A 12-year-old that I think is comparable to this might even, to build on what you're saying, might be more like Bunnahabhain 12.
Yeah, the good thing about the Bunnahabhain 12 to me, if I'm versing this one, is I do like the Bunnahabhain as far as it's not as spicy, maybe.
It's darker fruit. It's a little creamier, yeah.
But it's still, I mean, they're both classic, really high level malts.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It's really tough
I mean, I'm already pouring a little bit more, but
yeah, me too.
you want to share final thoughts, or I can go first?
I'll go ahead and go. I think it's a solid. Like I said, I think it's definitely I'd say it's probably my fourth favorite. That I'm sure I'm missing a couple like hidden gems in there, but like if I'm thinking my best 12, I'm going Bunnahabhain, Kilkerran, and definitely a Glendronach. This one I'm thinking is right there with them, but maybe like around the fourth place. Not thinking about the cast strength versions or the specialty 12s, just the flat entry level drams that we all know and love. I'm thinking 3.5. I think it's a fair, because it's above average, being to me a 3-star whiskey's average, especially for a 12. It's not quite as good as that 4.0 for the Glendronach 12, but I'm thinking 3.5 is pretty fair.
Right on. Yeah, I think this is the quintessential. I don't really know what I'm in the mood for, so I'm just going to pour this, and it's going to touch every base.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little bit of everything. I think it's one of the perfect intersections of Scotch. I do wish it. One drawback: it is chill filtered, at least as far as we know, which is a bummer. That said, it's rich, it's complex, it's got a few surprises, and it's affordable. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. I think this is above the Glendronach 12 for me, uncontroversially. I think this is with the elite amount of standard 12-year-old releases, and I say standard meaning not things like Springbank 12 cast strength or Lagavulin 12 cast strength. I think there are a few 12-year-old whiskeys that I think are going to be as good and rewarding as this one. Again, my only faults are the non-chill filter. I do wish it had a little bit more depth to it. But yeah, I think this is a must-have on your bar as like just I need something to pour and I don't know what I want, and you're going to be rewarded and enjoyed every time. I think this can guide you on what journey you want to go into on your whiskey flight. It's second to none in that respect. So yeah, I'm a solid 4 out of 5 on this. I think this is a must buy.
Do you, if you were looking at this compared to the Springbank 10, which one do you like better on that one?
Well, which one do I like better? It's probably a rub. I'd probably go the Springbank 10, but the Springbank 10 is also $45 more expensive than this. And so I think when you take value into consideration,
right.
I think it's, yeah, Highland Park 12. Again, you're not going to get any one thing great, but you're going to get a lot of things good with the Highland Park 12. And
that's a perfect analogy.
I just don't think there's many single malts that can say that. And
that's true.
Even the variations which may exist between the Viking Honor and the previous release, I'm sure a Highland Park 12 from 15 years ago was probably better. That's fine. That said, that's just where I'm at. I think this is a completely respectable everyday dram, which will give you a little bit of every region of Scotland in a glass. You won't go wrong with it. It's great. Yeah, I'm a solid 4 out of 5 on this. when you can. I mean, I consider price in my scores. So if you took price out of it, it's a 3.75. But with price, it's a 4 out of 5 for sure. I think everybody should have this on their bar. I don't think anybody would raise this, blow their nose at this whiskey. It's a great 12-year.
He was saying that Old Pulteney 12, Deanston 12, and Bunnahabhain 12 are all excellent. If maybe take any of those over the the Old Pulteney 12 just didn't do it for me. I do love the Deanston and the Bunnahabhain 12. Old Pulteney 12, it was just, for some reason, it felt one-dimensional to me as far as that. It did have the brain, it did have the maritime seashell, and a decent bourbon cask, but that's all I could really say about it if you asked me to, give you notes. But it's kind of a tough one. I know you like it a lot, so.
If you made me choose, I would take the Buna 12 over the Highland Park 12. I would still take the Highland Park 12 over the Old Pulteney 12 and over the Deanston 12.
Yeah. That's a tough one. Oh, Sam's gonna say Springbank 10. Well, you're gonna be spending like almost $100 for that Springbank 10.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. The Springbank 10 was $50.
You used to be able to get it 75 around here, and I'm just surprised that people are talking about how high it's getting.
Here's the thing about Highland Park 12. In addition to everything else I said, I'm never disappointed with the glasses. I've been drinking Scotch for years, and I'm telling you, I'm never disappointed when I have a glass of this. And I always expect that like it's finally going to turn the corner, and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, like this really isn't all that. It's
not like it used to be.
Yeah, it's just a damn good whiskey.
It is still as good as the old bottle that the one that you're having. It is good. It is just a little different. I think it's a little rougher. I think yours is a little, like you said, a little more rounded. But
I agree. But I again, with a small sample size, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's not like a huge difference by any means. When you come to when you get one Springbank bottle for some years versus the next, then you're talking bigger differences.
Depending on where folks are at in their whiskey journey in the chat, I highly recommend making the investment in a bottle of Highland Park 12. I think it's going to give you a real good sense of where your palate is and what you're interested in. It's real. It's the marijuana of Scotch whiskey. It's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug.
It'll definitely get you
what you need to have.
It'll definitely get you a way of depending on Highlands and Speyside and Lowlands for everything. It is your gateway to basically a bunch of things: Islands, Campbelltown, and Isla. I think it's a really good gateway, like you said, to all those places. Once you think about it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just great. Well, that was fun. We have a little bit of a little daylight between us, but I think we're general consensus on Highland Park 12 being one of the better 12s. So,
I would definitely have it on the bar.
For folks who are interested in figuring out which ones to try, keep your eyes peeled for the Highland Park 12 in your local store.
Yeah, and if you could find the 15, I know that the 15 I had was the one like your bottle. I think discontinued 15 on this go around.
Yeah, that's right.
They do have a 14 and a 16, like a Spirit of the Wolf and something about a raven or whatever. But
another thing we can get into, yeah.
The standard 15 is actually one of my favorites, 15-year-olds, and it was like 110 at the time. Solid price, solid whiskey, and if I had a little money, that week, and I wasn't feeling like a spicy 12, I'd go for that 15 because it had a really nice, big group of tropical fruit notes with it that I want to say overpowered, but blanketed that spice down just a little bit that made it not so rough, around the edges. So yeah, the 15 was discontinued. Not an easy one to find anymore. I unfortunately have never had it. I think Mr. French was drinking it earlier tonight, which was interesting. I did put some of the 21 in a glass and covered it, so we'll have that resting for our second tasting tonight. But yes, I did earlier too. I've got it all ready, rearing to go back there, man. That was a very nice sample you sent there.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to try it and for us to talk about it. And we will get into the Highland Park 21 in hour number 2. But another thing you just mentioned, which I think is something we were discussing a little bit on the happy hour on my channel, but we were, we're just talking about the sheer amount of Highland Park releases there are. And, what can you say? There's there's so much of it, and I think it's impossible to try them all.
Yeah.
Also, but it goes back to this paradox, which is I've never really had a Highland Park that I thought was disappointing. But there are so many distilleries that I see where there's, if Aberlour was putting out releases the way Highland Park does, I wouldn't buy any of them. But I'm always intrigued by these releases by Highland Park because I'm like, yeah, it's an NAS, yeah, blah, blah, blah. But like, I've never really had a bad Highland Park. So you're kind of in this position where you're like, you kind of want to like not make a bad decision and purchase the one that is going to be the best bang for your buck. I mean, they're not cheap. Yeah. And at the same time, you have a ridiculous amount of options that almost encourages you to try a bunch of them. So what I'd be curious from you, Telex, is in your experience, trying to grapple with the just sheer amount of potential releases. And we're not even just talking about US releases. We're talking about like the British, UK releases where there's even more, or travel exclusive where there's more than that. Still, have there been any Highland Park releases, NAS or otherwise, over the last couple of years that you think were really good? And in which case, which ones were those, and what would you recommend folks try?
Oh, man. I'll try not to take too much time, but I do have a lot of info in this one. The first ones I would consider trying, but the only reason I say I would consider is because they're not very expensive, and those are your travel retail ones. But keep in mind, I usually would hold it to like a 3 to 3.5 out of 5 on a lot of those. You get a liter. I mean, you get a good amount of whiskey. It's like the Einar and some of the like the Sven. Some of those guys are travel retails. They're decent, but if you're wanting like a definite, I can't go wrong in AS, I would look at the Valfather series where you have the Valfather and the Valkyrie. Those three whiskeys, even though I'm not keen on NASs and I'd rather have the craft be natural and all that, they do have some really good, interesting peated offerings in that group with lots of different flavors for like under $100. So kind of reminiscent of the Dark Origins.
I have to go take a quick, so I'll be right back.
No problem, man. The Dark Origins was like that a lot, I'd say. So keep your eyes out for Dark Origins. Don't let it oxidize, though, because I loved it at first. But I tell you what, once that bottle started going down, I had to drink it fast before it got bad because it was not staying great. We'll put it that way. With that in mind, once you get above that, you cross that $100 threshold and get to like your $200-$300 bottles. The Fire is a good one, except it's very savory and spicy. So if you're not in the mood for like a savory spice bomb, kind of like a Longmore 16. Longmore 16 is a definite spice bomb. The Tamdhu Debiliadram, you might be familiar with that. That's a spice bomb. That's where the Fire is like, and it's not very sweet at all. The sherry is definitely Oloroso, but like ultra dry than your typical stuff even. I do prefer the ice. The ice was a little bit better. It's a 17 versus a 15-year-old, so there's that as well. But the ice has more interesting flavor. It's not like any other whiskey I've ever had, actually. The light and dark are solid. If I was going to do the something on that range, I would definitely seek out the light and the dark are two of the best. And I like them both better than the Fire and the ice. But still worth a look if you're, if you like the Highland Park profile. Just don't pay the crazy secondary market prices you sometimes see. Like I've seen them around $400, but you can get them for like $250 if you do your homework and play your cards right. Am I saying it's worth even $250? I don't know. We're talking 15 and 17 or whiskey. It's kind of tough to justify a price like that, but there are such specialized offerings that you can only get like once from that particular, year release. It is what it is. You can't really get around that. So hopefully that kind of summed it up a little bit.
So Telex, I do have to mention this.
But I'm sorry, I didn't really say it. None of them were bad whiskeys. I never had what I would consider a bad Highland Park, other than the Dark Origins just oxidizing way too fast and getting bitter too fast. Everything else.
I mean, what did you think of the Magnus? Did you have the Magnus? I didn't even think the Magnus was that bad.
It was good. I mean, I even compared it to, a Highland Park 12 and maybe a Monkey Shoulder blend.
Very fudgy.
Maybe a Johnny Walker Double Black. It kind of had the same. Yeah. It could hang with all those daily sippers, I thought.
Yeah.
If you can only spend, $45, $30 for whiskey, that's like kind of a no-brainer, really. But if you can afford the 12 or the 15, definitely, make that your daily. But we're talking a little bit of that more.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to share something with you real quick, because this is something that we're going to do eventually. I haven't opened this yet, but we're sitting here talking about Highland Park 12, and what I have here, this
Riptide.
Is satchel. It's called Riptide. This is a Highland Park 12 single cask, 65.5% ABV, first fill oak sherry puncheons. Now, this is part of a release that was done in the U.S. by regions, and there's a whole bunch of these varying in age and ABV across regions. But what, eventually this year, I'm going to open this and I'll be getting you a sample of this, but this is going to be something that we're going to get to try as well. This is going to be a single cask monster of a
Look at that.
Which I'm really excited to do. And I'd be curious if anybody in the chat has had any of these single cask releases from Highland Park. Like I said, a lot of it is regional based. And so what it says here, like I said, this is a monstrosity, 65.5% ABV. I mean, it says explicitly on here that this was mid-Atlantic region. So I know that they did a bunch of these in other places. You might have one that's, different in your area, Telex. I mean, you're not far from me, but I think that there are some that are aged older and younger, single cask releases. I mean, it literally says mid-Atlantic. So like they did these regional releases. I had to get it. This is $130, $140 whiskey. I did it because I love the Highland Park 12 so much. But I'd be curious if anybody's had any of these. You got opinions about them? Are they worth the investment? Any of that stuff? I just saw Santa Cruz and said single casks are good but pricey. BH Silv 2 said Ohio had a pick. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I enjoyed it. Younger than I'd like for the $200 price point. Yeah. So this one I got for like about $140. And honestly, Telex, I got this from Potomac Wine and Spirits in DC, so you might be able to get one of these. But there's one called the Nor'easter, which is, for the New York, Boston region. These are apparently all around. I don't know what to expect in the sense of saying you should invest in them, but they come in these cool satchels, blah, blah, blah. I had to get it. It was a treat. I was going to treat myself. I'm going to probably open this still this year on a special occasion, because as I said, the Highland Park 12 is a 4 out of 5 for me. Like, this can't go wrong. So
yeah, I saw that.
If you don't get one, Telex, a sample of this will come your way eventually, and we'll get to taste what a single cask Highland Park works with.
That would be awesome. I did see one of these available in California, and I thought about ordering one, but I thought, well, I don't know. So if I like this one, I might actually take the gamble and try to get the California one out here, which would be kind of great for both of us, because then we could try something that's completely different.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are some that were upwards of 16 years, if I'm not mistaken. It really depended on what region you were in.
That sounds good. 16 years, man. That's insane. I think it was I had to look and see what the age.
Dram Dude is on, but I'm sure Dram Dude's probably had more than one of these.
I would think so. I think he's a pretty big Highland Park fan of him. I can't remember though, but I think he might be a fan of them. And
Alex, I am pouring yet another dram of the
Highland Park. Me too. I just did myself.
It's so good. It's just so good.
Yeah, I just I poured a little one. I was like, I'll pour a big one. What the hell?
Yeah. It's just so goddamn good. Let's be real. Gary Page just said 2006 12-year-old Highland Park 66.6% that he got his hands on. Gary, I'd be curious, do you know what the name of it was or anything like that, or what region that was in? I mean, honestly, obviously I won't be able to try all of them, but that's so cool that you got one. He mentioned that he's got it. Yeah. Oh, and there's a 12-year-old too, or 10-year-old.
That's wild. Yeah, I'll have to.
Dangerously drinkable. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I'll have to take another look at some of these single casks because, yeah, it's surprising how good this is, and this is one of the ones, thankfully, that I hit out the gate because after I took a little sip of the famous grouse and got my feet wet, I thought, well, where should I go from here? And thankfully, a channel I found pointing me towards two places, Ardbeg and Highland Park, and they were like the best roads I could have found myself on because thankfully I liked Pete out of the gate. Did you like it from the get go, or were you one of those type of people that tried it and did not like it, but it kind of warmed up to it after?
Are you talking about Pete?
Yeah, in general.
No, I didn't like it at all. The first single malt that I ever really spent any time with was Open 14, and that was I went to a bar and I tried Talisker 10. I hated it. I tried Lefroy 10. I hated it. I tried Lefroy 10 again, and I hated it. And then one night, I tried Lefroy 10 for the third time. It was bought for me, and I loved it. And from there, it was history. They say only about 10% of people enjoy the phenolic peat smoke whiskeys. And so
wow,
it turned the corner for me. I was like, this is the worst thing ever to this is the best thing ever.
Did I tell you the story about the first time I tried peat?
No.
Yeah, I was down in Annapolis, where I live now, and my wife and I were getting down there, and we were looking to get a drink. Cause she usually drinks wine, so she got a glass of white wine. She likes Pinot Grigio, whatever. So I'm like, I'm gonna try something different. I just feel like I've heard of Scotch for a long time, just never even thought about ordering it. What the hell, right? So they had a flight. They had a glass of Glenmorangie 10. They had a glass of Alachura 10, and then they finished off with the Lefroy 10. I'm like, okay.
Oh, wow. It makes sense as the progression, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like an interesting. I had no idea what a Glenmorangie was. I couldn't even pronounce Lefroy. Probably if you held a gun to my head, that kind of thing. So I started off with the Glenmorangie 10. I'm thinking, well, I like it a little better than bourbon because it doesn't have the corn, and I like the malt, but it seemed a bit kind of flat, And I've drank my share of different types of alcohol over the years, so I've got a pretty well-versed palate already. So then I go to the Alajura, and I detected the smoke, and I thought the smoke was nice, but it still felt like something was just missing even from that one. And I swear to God, when I had the Lefroy 10 for the first time, and thankfully my wife told me, you got to make sure you take small sips with this because it's going to be strong. She knew what it was, and I never heard of it before. And I'm thinking, well, it smells interesting. So I take a swig of it. I fell in love with it from the first sip, dude. Like I was like, I've got to have this in my life. That's how good it was.
That's great, man. I did not have that experience. For me,
I don't know. Maybe it's the Johnston name or something. It's not a Scottish name. Maybe it's like in my bloodstream or something.
For me, it was the opposite, man. There was a little bar when I lived in Washington, D.C. I tried Lefroy 10. I hated it. I tried Talisker 10, which to this day I still don't really like. And then one night, it was something, and this is what is so great about Scotch experiences, especially when you're earlier in your journey, is you have these moments where the stars align and a whiskey just speaks to your mood, your experience, the vibe, the people you're with. But a friend of mine poured me a Lefroy 10, and I was like, I've had this, I don't like it. And for some reason, I sipped it that night and it clicked. And I was just like, oh man, this is amazing. And so I got real intrigued, right? Because I had my first single malt was the Open 14. And so there's a little peat in it. And I was like, ooh, I might want to try some more of these peated scotches. So I bought a bottle of the Lefroy quarter cask.
Oh man.
And I drank some of that and I was like, oh, this is interesting, but I'm not quite there. And then I went to a New Year's party. And at the New Year's party, my friend who had turned me on to the Open 14 poured me a glass of Ardbeg.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And was like, Happy New Year 2017. And I remember I drank that and it was like nirvana. It was just like, oh my God, I didn't realize how good this could be. Not only was it smoky, but it was sweet with a little bit of that sherry. Oh my God, it blew my mind. And then I was hooked on peat. And then I bought like Lagavulin 16 and,
Yeah.
12 and went down the rabbit hole. But like for me, it was much more, yeah, it wasn't love at first sight. It was one of those things where the moment, the people I was with, the mood I was in, the environment I was in, it clicked. And I never looked back.
Yeah.
And like that's the fun, we sit here and we talk about whiskey tasting notes and all this, and we're not sommeliers or whatever the hell. But like at the end of the day, this is just like the somewhat informed opinion. At the end of the day, like nothing can compensate for moments of life where like a malt or a bourbon or whatever can like just transcend all of the bullshit. And like that's what it was for me in those moments. And that's what makes this so much fun, and that's why like you and I sit here and we're gonna have another one of these moments in about 10 minutes or so when Telex gets his lips on the Highland Park 21. We'll see. Maybe he won't have a moment, but we'll see.
I think I might have a moment.
But hey, if you do, that's why this is fun.
Yeah, thankfully,
this is how much you spend or how old it is or any of that. It's about the moments, and like you want people to have the moments, and I think that's the essence of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the lucky thing out of the gate, having Highland Park 12 and some of the other ones we mentioned is like the Springbank 10 was one of my first, I'd say, scotches that I really got into. I got lucky that I got onto the right side of the pool, from the get-go, because some people go down this hole where they find themselves in full-fledged Dalmore territory where they're kind of stuck in that, or they only know Macallan, they don't know anything else outside of the gate. And it's really good to kind of go exploring and get your bearings, because you might, like I found that Bladnock Adela 15, and if I never started just trying things, I never would have even known to try it. Now that Bladnock Adela 15, even though it's a lowland, it's one of the best sherry scotches I've ever had, period.
Yeah, man. And like, there are, I believe in objectivity. I believe facts are real. And like, I think there are objective facts you can say about a whiskey, but none of them can override the subjective experience that people can have drinking them. And like, that's, I think that's why you and I, unlike, there are some people who are a little bit more assertive in the Whiskey 2 world. Like, we're very humble people about this stuff and like very explicit about it, and for good reason. And like the fact that we get to share this with everybody else in the chat and where they're at and what they're tasting, it's just amazing, man.
I got a funny quick story for you. The first time I had Highland Park 12, I remember I was down, in DC where they have the casino, the big casino down in the National Harbor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So my wife and I were trying to get away and have a date night, whatever. So we ended up going down there. And you've heard of the Vittagios, the guys that do the chefs, Brian Vittaggio and...
probably, but it's not ringing a bell.
They're real big, like internationally known chefs from Frederick, Maryland, of all places, and they have a place there. But they also opened a place there at the National Harbor. So we thought we'll go down there and try some food, and that's when I just started getting actually, and I think in the Scotch, this is 4 or 5 years ago, and so we're having a great meal. I had my Highland Park 12, and at the end of the night, they had this dessert, dude. It was the best food, period. I'm not even talking about, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I'm talking about anything edible. This is like the best thing I've ever done. It was so good that I told my wife that, man, this is so good that I want you to grab my legs, lift me up, where you could just shovel my head through and I could just open my mouth and go, and eat it all, dude. It was the best dessert I've ever had, and it was the night I had this scotch.
Yeah, man. I mean, like those are the moments, like. That's too funny.
Sorry, but you know how it goes.
I do know how it goes. What about y'all, man? Let us know in the chat, man. Share one of your like euphoric Scotch moments. It don't matter what whiskey it was. It don't matter what you were doing. What were some of those moments where you were like, it was like the universe was in complete synchronicity with you? Because those are the times that like make this all worthwhile. I've had a few. Ardbeg of Goodall, Brooklotti Black Arts. I mean, honestly, the Open 14. Jim Beam. You know, let us know in the chat, man. The stories to remember on it, and it recenters you. It refocuses you on like why, you know, exploring all this is so much fun.
I remember Sour Mash, Jack Daniels, and Slush Puppies when I was a kid. As horrible as that sounds, but
Daniels outside of a Pantera concert in Madison, Wisconsin in 1998. He was 16 years old, trying to act like I was, you know, as badass as those guys. And like, oh yeah, we gotta drink out of a beer bong. Let's do it.
Cemetery Gates, man. I used to love Pantera. Now you're talking. Hostile. Oh my lord, that stuff is great.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sad that what happened to that band, man. That was that's a history there. But
so Santa Cruzan says, I'm having that moment at this moment. Nice. Share any details you feel like sharing, my friend. DH Silv said Flaming Heart 2015. Yeah, man. There you go. Like
that I remember him saying that was like one of his favorite. I think is that your favorite of all the Compass Box offerings, Dustin? I couldn't remember if that was the one, but yeah, we were talking about some of the better Compass Box ones. Do you have a couple Compass Boxes that you're really into that stick out in your mind? For me, I think the Phenomenology was one of my favorites that really stuck out.
Yeah, and Andrew Page said, this is interesting. Thanks for sharing the experiences. For the first year or two, I got into Scotch. I would only have one bottle at a time and always try to do something different with purchases. Euphoric experiences would be Springbank 10, Ardbeg 10, and Lafroig 10 cast strength before I knew what cast strength even meant. Yeah. Man, Lafroig 10 cast strength. You want to talk about a ridiculous experience. The first time you had that, you're like, what?
Yeah, I agree. Because I thought, you know, I had the 10 first, then I had the quarter cask,
yeah,
then I had the triple wood, and then I might even had the lure before I went to the cast strength. And I remember, wow, man, I shouldn't like hospital, but I love this antiseptic TCP iodine, man. I would just dive and swim in that shit. It was so nice.
Yeah, that's real. Good one, Andrew Page. Yeah, DH Silv said, not a luxury whiskey. It's likely my favorite Compass Box. Yeah. I unfortunately have not got to try that one.
I haven't either. And I've had a lot of their things over time. I had the double single, had the No Name, the Phenomenology, the Hiddenism. Oh man, I am missing. I never had tried like the Bias and the Muse or the 3-year, but that's one of those that I like. Have you ever seen the bottle for that thing? It's crazy, dude. It's like it almost looks like, you know, Andy Warhol decided to do liquor.
Yeah, no, totally. Or Ralph Steadman, the Hunter S. Thompson guy, like who does the flying.
Oh yeah, Fear and Loathing.
Yeah, he does the Flying Dog beer designs. Yeah.
That's a classic, man. I got to try that at some point. There's a lot of Compass Boxes I haven't really touched yet.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of tough because once you go down there, then you feel like you almost want to collect them and all that. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna. If I ever do go down that road where I'm starting to collect Compass Box, I'm gonna draw a line where no grain. It's gonna be all like single malt type ish. You know, Scotchy whiskey, but no grains. I just can't.
We should put one on our list for a bottle that we'll buy.
That's a good idea. I haven't had one in a long time. And I've after Juveniles and some of the newer releases, I lost track of them. So they probably have.
There's so many, man.
2 or 3 that I probably missed over the last year. Are you familiar? Anybody have a really good one? Cohen.
Hey, Cohen, what's up?
Hey, Dustin, I just don't. It's just like bourbon. I don't like bourbon. I don't like green whiskey. It's just the way it is, man.
Yeah, we're gonna test that out soon enough. Wait until you see those bourbons I just shared with you.
Usually, I'll just say usually, but
we'll talk about that later tonight.
I think I have actually gotten more accustomed to them. It's almost better, like if you don't like bourbon, if you do a Scotch run and then come back, I think I do appreciate them a lot more than I used to, if that makes any sense.
Well, we're going to test that theory out soon enough. Maybe next week. We're going to test
Yeah,
the theory out soon enough.
that sounds good, man.
Speaking of sounding good, it is past the second hour, which means maybe we should get into our second tasting. What do you think?
Yes.
All right, y'all. Let me set the table. I've had this sitting out for about over 20 minutes. Our next tasting tonight is going to be Highland Park, 21 years old.
Holy
This
moly.
is the August 2019 release. So, for a point of reference, Highland Park used to make a 21-year-old. It was a 47.5 ABV. They stopped for a while, and now what we have is a 46% ABV. This is the first release. They've done another release since here, but let me give you the rundown on what we have in the glass here. 46% ABV. It is definitely natural color. And here are the stats, of which there are a lot. So here we go. August 2019 release, created from six first fill sherry seasoned European oak casks, 4 first fill sherry seasoned American oak casks, and 5 refill casks, all hand selected from Gordon Motion, the master whiskey maker.
Wow.
Put down and matured safely within 19 dunnage in 4 racking warehouses at Highland Park. So that's what we're looking at. 6 first fill seasoned European oak, 4 first fill American oak, and 5 refill bourbon casks.
Wow, man.
46% ABV. This is, I'm going to pull this heavy ass thing off just so everybody can get a good look at the bottle. It is definitely a Viking looking bottle. 21 years old, Highland Park. It is natural color. Does not say anything about filtration, so we may have to assume it's non-chill filtered. Telex, that is the tail of the tape on the Highland Park 21. This is around a $300 bottle, give or take. I am interested in your initial notes. I will hand things over to you.
Wow, man. And I really appreciate you sharing this. I'll have to do a share of the Ardbeg 19 or something when I get around to opening that one. That'll be a nice return to the favor. This has really got really nice legs on it. That's the first thing I always look for after the color being. I mean, I showed the white balance, and it is a nice color, and I love the fact that they keep it natural. This has got a really nice heavy mouth coat coming. I have a feeling just by looking at the legs and how slow we're talking, like really slow on the drop. Even though this is a lot older, you still have really good bourbon cask characteristics, I think, from out the gate on this one.
Yeah, I agree.
But you still also get a lot of nice florals too. Huh.
Yeah, the legs on this are beautiful. I'm curious, are you getting tropical fruit notes off this?
Yeah, the first fruit note I got from the nose was pineapple. I even get it's almost like a toasted coconut too.
Ooh, interesting.
Huh. Definitely some light to medium florals in the background.
Incredible. It's a decadent nose.
I definitely get that heathery peat. It's you have to dig a little, but it's not too deep. Oh, now the medium red fruits are coming in. Like a strawberry.
Yeah, for sure. You get any of that slight pickled ginger, almost like fresh sushi just got put in front of you.
It's funny. As soon as he says ginger, I was thinking, kind of like a really refreshing sashimi kind of thing.
Yeah. It's umami, but very light and delicate. What a nose. And there's a zestiness to it. There's a zest. There's some spice. There's some body to it.
There might even be some citrus lime, like just a little bit. It's not. It's definitely not enough to turn me off of it. It's just a little bit there. It kind of adds a nice slight. I wouldn't say bitter, but slightly almost bitter. It's good balance. It's not too much sweet, too much citrus. It's not too much florals. It's not too much anything.
Oh,
you get the sweetness in there too. Wow,
tropical. Yep. Telex.
Oh my. Wow, that's like a sugar daddy, man. Wow.
Oh.
Nice spice too.
Oh man, that finish too. Oh my God. A lot of spice, assertive, pepper. So much fruit and sweetness, cloying, sticks to the mouth, tropical fruit, red fruit, even some bourbon cask. The finish goes on forever.
I'm surprised how bright it feels as old as it is. It's got like a nice effervescence to it. That's surprising, and it's such an old age statement.
Oh.
White pepper, definitely.
Milk chocolate.
Really nice caramel.
Yeah.
It goes, and then after the caramel, then it releases like this wave of toffee, deeper, darker notes.
Yeah, I mean, for so much sherry maturation, it's almost surprising how much more characteristic bourbon notes you get off of it.
I was thinking the same thing. Like if you gave me this and you didn't tell me the cask reference, like what the type they used, I would have bet money on X bourbon big time on this guy, because man, it's got this really nice brown sugar. It's like a light brown sugar, but it's got this really nice light brown sugar finish with like a really nice sweetness, but it's not cloyingly sweet. It's
Nice long finish. I'm gonna do a drop. This is 46% ABV, like I said. Just a little bit of water on this.
Wow, it's like a mouthful of the best like sugar daddy combination with the perfect blend of sweetness and caramel and toffee, and it almost gets to molasses level, but not quite that dark. It's like right before you get to molasses.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, man. That is. Yeah, a drop or two, it gets even more vibrant.
This is definitely. I'm surprisingly happy that it's sweeter than I thought it would be.
Yeah, with that much first fill sherry. Ooh-wee.
I put a couple drops. I'm just going to give it a couple more swirls and just to see if let it kind of settle a little bit and give it another nose maybe.
Yeah, and for folks just joining, this is Highland Park 21, August 2019 release. Oh man, that nose is fuck. It's like papaya. It's like you walked into the fruit, the fruit section of the
wow.
It just jumps out at you.
It's gotten I think the nose has actually even got better with a little bit of water, believe it or not. Isn't that crazy?
It's like more balanced. The fruit's more there with the bourbon notes.
Oh, and that sweetness is still there. I love it. I might even get like a little bit of just a touch of banana somewhere in there. It's weird. It's like, but more dry, like a dried banana. Huh.
Oh man, the finish, mocha amaretto, white chocolate, very similar to the Highland Park 12 finish, but so much longer. And there's just more vibrancy. There's more. You're just getting these popping like lavender fruit, and floral notes.
Oh wow, it's like I love the spice level in this is much better than the 12 because the 12 is good, but it's a little more in your face, like especially the black pepper note.
Yeah,
This one doesn't have any black pepper at all. It has white pepper, but it's definitely got a more of an overall balance with everything else. Mm.
creme brulee, you know, like that vanilla custard kind of thing where everything's kind of harmoniously mixed, so it's not very assertive with like it's not overly vanilla, but it's like a nice creamy quality French vanilla almost, you know.
That finish is still going on, man.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
This is like just too good. It's a thing. I have to have them side by side someday, maybe. But I might actually like this better than the 25. I don't know. It's the 25. I think is a little more maybe fruit forward, but on the tropical side. But this has definitely got it there. And this is like right between the 18 and the 25 for the price point being 300. It's a good price point to be at because your 18 is 130 typically from what I find.
Yeah.
Your 25-year-old unfortunately is like 600. It's way pricey. But if you want a really interesting affordable Highland Park that I mean it's affordable, not I know about all, but to some, if you save up for a few months and you're wanting to go out for a nice bottle, this is not a bad option to go with, I think.
Yeah, and I mean I think that's the ultimate question here, man. Like this is in the US, you're looking at around $300 for this. Is this the whiskey that you think you would save up for? Where would you go on obviously just as a few samples, but take your time, but preliminary final score.
And DHS was saying, "Yikes! He paid 400 for his 25." Yeah, this go look up some of the new prices for the 25, man.
It's like 1,000.
You will shit a brick, dude. It's crazy. Like I'm 600. I thought was way too high, and like he said, they're going for even higher than that now.
Yeah.
But 400 for the 25 is definitely, I think, fair.
Here's one more look at that. Yeah, this is the 21. August 19 release. They have another release out now.
For this one,
6 first fill sherry seasoned European oak, 4 first fill sherry American oak, and 5 refill casks, which I'm assuming are bourbon.
Yeah, for this one, I think it's a definite try because the 18 is solid, and for 130, I mean it's great. But if you do have a little extra cash and you want to know like what can I do that's better than the 18, where I don't have to spend my left testicle to get it, this is like seriously the more a definite more affordable area to go. It's such a shame. I think it's a limited release, right?
Well, it looks like they're doing batches. So this is August 2019. So I think this is the first one that they've done of the new Highland Park 21. There's also a November 2019 release, and there might be a third one out now. I don't know what variation they are, but based on, like I said, this one in specific, the tail of the tape was, again, 6 first fill sherry seasoned European oak, 4 first fill sherry seasoned American oak, and then 5 refill casks, which I'm assuming are ex-bourbon.
This is so damn good, dude. I'm gonna go and say, I think I'm gonna score this higher than other whiskey scorers because I really appreciate not just a really sweet dram, but a very well balanced sweet dram, and this is where I think this one comes in. It's got everything. They don't chill filter this, do they?
Well, it doesn't say explicitly on here. Let me double check. I mean, I know it says natural color. There's no mention about chill filtration as far as I knew. I mean, Highland Park, there's like a freaking novel written on here. I'll look.
I wouldn't ding them too much on it, even if they did. I love the 21-year statement. I love the profile. The 46% is actually... it could be 48, but I'm not going to bitch too much about that. I'm thinking it's a solid 4.25, man. I'm thinking 4.25 because it's definitely a hell of a lot better than the 12. It's better than the 15 and even the 18. And the 18, I would give like about a similar score.
Yeah, it is definitely not natural color, but it doesn't say anything about non-chill filtration. This is the bottle. If anybody's interested.
It's almost like to me, the reason why I like this one a lot, and probably a lot more than maybe some people, is that this has got the you're going up to that sweet dram, and you get to the point where you don't want to get any sweeter, but this is right at that pinnacle where it's got everything you want without being overblown or in your too in your face on like one note. It's not too refined to the point where the notes aren't popping. All the notes are popping in your face on this. I did struggle a little bit on the nose to try to get like a lot more out of it that I wanted to, but that's why I'm thinking the 4.25 might be the best option. But it's tough to score it's a definite quintessential classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you on that, and that makes total sense. I think the nose is the weakest part of this whiskey because I think it's just kind of like it doesn't blow your mind.
It is a really nice, thick, sugar daddy, caramely nose, though. It's tough because what's there might not be a lot of different notes, but what's there is powerful. I mean,
yeah, I agree. For me, I mean, I think this. I agree with everything you've said in the sense. I mean, this is a major step up from even the Highland Park 15, which is or the 18, which is a 3.5 out of 5 for me. I think I find it a little more underwhelming than most people do. I think the 12 is, I don't want to say better, but I would probably grab the 12 before the 18 just because I don't find the 18 that magnanimous. That said,
can I ask you a quick question before you go? Did you have the new 18 or the old 18?
The new.
Yeah. I want you to try to get your hands on the old one. If I can find one for you,
I'd love to.
If I can find one for you, I'll try to see if I can snag one because I haven't had the new 18 to verse it, but I have had the old 18.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the 18. I know a lot of people think it's like the best thing since sliced bread. I found it a little underwhelming. Again, I had the Viking Pride 2018, so again. I did a comparison between the 12s on my channel. I don't know if the 18s, if there's a difference, whatever. This whiskey at $330. This is a 4 out of 5 for me. And I gave the Highland Park 12 a 4 out of 5, but I include cost in, so let me caveat this.
Right.
This is a way better whiskey than the Highland Park 12. But for the price,
right,
I don't think this is a world beater, but I think it's an exceptionally good whiskey. And so that's why I kind of fall on that. I'm sticking with 4 out of 5 on this, which is for me a go out and buy it. That said, $330 some. It's 46%, which is great, but $300 some. When I think of other whiskeys that I can find for $300 some, when I think of Bruichladdich Blackguard, when I think of sometimes going 25, there are just a couple that I would lean stronger towards at the price point. But this for a Highland Park, when you consider the next Highland Park you can get above this is like well beyond $700. You will not be disappointed in this whiskey. It's soft, it's complex, it's delicate, and it's delicious. It has an incredible finish. But yeah, so I'm a big fan. 4 out of 5, delicious stuff.
We're pretty close because I was only like a little smidgen higher on you on that one.
You were a smidgen lower on the 12, so it's
and that's funny.
Yeah,
Steven's got a good point. He loves the old 12. Steven, have you had the new Viking Honor, the Viking Pride? Oh, okay, no problem, man. Have you had the new Viking Pride? And if you did you like it more or not as much as the new 18, because I noticed you said you loved the old 18, and when you say the old, I'm assuming you're talking about the one that Malt had, the one right before this series, which is the 18 that I know and love was that one. So let me know if that's the case, because I need to get Malt the old 18 if possible. Cohen, do you ever shop at Kiel? Yeah, Kiel Wines is a good one. Some of your picks sounds like it. I wonder if the new 18 is the issue, because the old 18 is certainly better than the 12, stands out. I agree with you there, Dustin, on that one. I think the 18 is, if you sat down with the 12s and the 18s, old and new, the difference between the 12s, I think, is subtle. The difference between the 18 sounds like it's a bit much. That's kind of scary, to be honest with you, but it's underwhelming too. But the 12 isn't anything special without that price. Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know, man. It's a good whiskey. It's a tough one. When you say not anything special, but yeah. I was just circling back. Dustin was agreeing that I wonder if the new 18 might be the issue, because the old 18 is clearly better than the 12, stands out. And I'm wondering if
yeah, but my score on the 18 and the 12 is price relative. So it's,
but I'm thinking if you
$5 for the 12 or $135 for the 18. That's why I go 4 for the 12 and 3.5 for the 18. I mean, I don't. Again, like, I agree with you. Anytime a distillery changes their labeling, subjectively people are more looking for differences. And I'm not saying there aren't. I did a comparison video. You can check it out on my channel between the Highland Park 12 and the Highland Park 12 Viking Honor. I bought them within a year of each other.
Right, but I think there's a big difference between the 12s. I don't think are much different at all, and I agree with you on that. I think there is a big difference between the 18s for some reason.
But here's my point. Is it because they changed the label, or is it batch variation? Like, how many 12s? No, let me ask you. How many 18s have you had since they changed the label that you can compare to an older one and say definitively, like, this is what I mean? Like, correlation's not causation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't disagree that it may be true. What I'm saying is, like, it's hard to prove. Right.
Right, but that's why I want to get you a old bottle of the 18 to see what you think of it, because I have a feeling, and I'm just saying this based off my own personal feeling of it, that you'll find that version of the Highland Park 18, that specific old version, I think it'll be one of the best whiskeys you've ever had, kind of thing. Like I'm talking like right up there with like a Brook Lottie, like Black Arts 4.1 kind of feeling.
Really?
Yes, that different.
Because if you can make it happen, I'm down. I want
to try it. That's all I'm saying.
I have a hard time. Like, Highland Park, by its character, is such a like balanced medium. Like, it would be difficult for me to assume a Highland Park can be like exponentially better at I don't know, a 2-year difference in bottling. You know what I'm saying? If you had a Highland Park 18 from like 1983 versus now, maybe. But like, right. I don't know. Like, again, I've read all the stuff on Reddit. I'm not saying that there's no difference. I'm not saying that Highland Park didn't just like start using shittier barrels, and like when they rebranded, I can't. All I'm saying is I can't say that my experience proves that. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying they probably did, because the Highland Park 18 is one of the most notorious best scotches that you can, possibly imagine. That's why I'm surprised of that. And the only difference I can think of that could exist is, like you said, the batch variation between the new and the old. So yeah. I've got to get my hands on an old 18, and I have an idea where I might be able to find one, believe it or not. If I can find one, I'll buy one for us, and I'll definitely send you something.
I noticed Dustin brought up the Bunnahabhain 18, and this is another example. Like, even like the new Bunnahabhain 18 I thought was great, but like, again, like, can you say that confidently based on 2 bottles? right? One has an old label, one has a new label. Like the incentive of like changing the entire quality of a whiskey based on the relabel makes logical sense to me. But like all I'm saying is like you can't necessarily make the leap without doing a larger sample size. That's all I'm saying.
I haven't got to that comment yet. I'm still way back here, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah. Go for it.
Daniel asked, "What's your suggestion for $100, give or take $20 at both of us?"
Well, depends on what you're shopping for. Old Paltney 15. I mean, Highland Park 18 is like right in that wheelhouse. And around that $100. I mean, God, Springbank 12 cask strength.
Yeah, if you don't mind a little funk, I would definitely say the Springbank 12 cask strength is definitely where you want to go. The Ardbeg Ugadal, we both would agree that's a high-end peated whiskey. Sherry too. If you just like sherry, maybe try to find like a Glen Scotia 15 or something.
Yeah, but Glen Scotia 15 is way below $80.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's true. I'm trying to think. I guess 100. Man, that's a tough one.
18, I don't know.
Yeah,
$100 is a weird price point with Scotch because it's like most of the 18s now are well above 120, and most of the like 15s or younger are like slightly below that. So you're kind of in this tough spot. I think if you have $100 in your pocket and you walk into a whiskey store and you're going to buy a Scotch, you might find a good 18 that you can get for around that price, $120. Let's say Talisker 18, which I think is a great 18. We're gonna have Glenlivet, the old Glenlivet.
How much is the Glen Elky 18? Do you know what the price point of that one is?
$130, $140, probably.
Yeah, I would probably go for that, man. If I would save maybe an extra week or two, and go in for the Glen Elky 18 because that's a really good whiskey and that's interesting one for the price, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Talisker 18 still at 120. If you see that, buy it immediately. It's fantastic. And you know me, Talisker 10 is like not my favorite whiskey, or much Talisker for that matter. But I mean, really, like $100 is tough these days. I mean, you see Lagavulin 16 for $100. I would never buy that at $100.
No, 80 maybe, but 80 is where I would probably draw a line.
Yeah, I agree.
The 12 you can get from 130 to 140, but that's a bit more than the 100. That's a tough.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I'd be honest. Like, if you have $100, look for some independent bottlings, especially like Kalila. Like, look for a Berry Brothers and Red Kalila, which you could probably get for like cask strength.
Or Delphi, get a signatory. Yeah. Definitely get the good.
Flies under the radar. Like, I mean, obviously for $100, Ardbeg Ugadal is right there. Corey Vrecken is right there. Both are great pours.
Corey Vrecken would be the one I would probably, or Ugadal would probably be the ones I would start with at that. The Highland Park 21 Trooper is a rare one. I don't think that you'll see this more than like a year or two. I think it's going to be one of those releases where you'll see it for a year or two, it'll go away for a year or two, and then it'll come back for a year or two, and it'll go away for a year or two. I think that's the pattern on the 21, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't one here full bottle. I'll take a sample about a dram. I was asking him about one of the old Highland Parks. Let me catch up with someone.
Yeah, I'm with Steven on that. I mean, show me a Highland Park 18 from 2000 versus a Highland Park 18 from 2020 Viking Pride is much more interesting than a Highland Park Viking Pride 18 from 2019 and a Highland Park 18 old label from 2017. Like,
I think you'll like that 17 one though. I'm just saying, man, I got to get my hands on one for you because it was that good. It was like a 4.75 out of 5. I mean, that's how different I thought it was compared to some of the other ones. But we'll see. I'm gonna have to get my hands on one for you to see what you think about it. Hopefully,
yeah, I'd love to do it. I'm just not convinced. Like, again, and it's not because I don't believe it. It's just that, like, at the end of the day, if you include batch variation as an independent variable, like, you can't definitively say much about label changes being causation of like a whiskey losing quality. Like it just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you have to try a bunch of them. That's my only point, and it may very well be true. I've never done it, and if somebody can point me to somebody who has, I'm game to like take that seriously. But I don't know.
What is the best whiskey you've tried of late? Recently, I stumbled upon a local barley 9 on the store shelf. Wow, that's a great find, Samuel Cast. What about you? Go ahead and go first on that one.
Great whiskeys that I've tried. You know, it's hard for me to say without
Of late, like something recent that you like that you tried.
Yeah, without like thinking about things I've had this year, but of late, Lefroy 10 cask strength batch 12, I think is really good.
This year's batch, right?
Yeah. Deanston 2008 Bordeaux red wine cask, which is it's not a new release, but you can still find it. Probably one of my favorite whiskeys of this year. Another great whiskey, Glengoyne Teapot Dram Batch 7. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B520.
Wow. I was going to say, on this one, I was recently surprised by how good the Flora and Fauna series was with a certain distillery. And the Dahlia Wayne 16 was really good. So if you're looking for something a little off the wall, it might not be the best as far as like non-colored and chill filtered and that kind of thing. But if you want your statement at a 16, and the Dahlia Wayne 16 is a great sherry scotch, as is the Blair Athol 12 and the Ben Rennes 15. Those were solid in that line. And if you're experienced, I would say go for the Inchgower 14. That's a really, really good scotch too, that I've had this last year that I really liked a lot. Ooh, Talisker 15 is about 120. That sounds good. That's and the 15 is the new cask strength one, right? Or is that not cask strength? I can't remember. Do you know, Malt?
I've not had the 15. I think it's cask strength. The only 15-year-old I ever have seen at cask strength is Glen Grant. Have you ever had that?
Luckily, when I was going through, I was trying to find a bottle of Glen Grant for my collection. I already had the 12, and I thought I'd love to find the 18. Well, unfortunately, at the time I was looking, they canceled the 18, and they had like just a 16, and they had some other like lower years. They did have the 15 cask strength, and that's the one I actually bought, and it's really good. I was
about to say, if you haven't bought that, I'm literally on the precipice of getting a bottle of that. So I was going to say, if you haven't had it, I'm going to buy it.
You will not be disappointed if you can look back at I had a review of it back in the day.
I'll put that out for sure.
Pop it open when you're doing your own kind of, your own journey, just to see if you agree, disagree. And let me know. And I don't mind if you say, dude, you're crazy. None of those notes made sense, but I'd like to know what you thought as far as like comparison, if you don't mind.
I might check that out.
I have everything you named aside from the Glenellicky. Yeah, the Glenellicky is definitely one that I think you should give it a try. Another really good.
That's another one great around 100 is the Glenalky 15. It's basically the Glendronach 15 revival. Same profile, PX and Oloroso sherry. I think it's a little bit more assertive than the Glendronach 15, if I recall.
And it's Billy Walker.
Yeah, it's great. It's good. It's a good whiskey.
You got the guy that came from Glendronach and left and went to Glenellicky to beat the shit out of the Glendronach 15.
Yeah, man. Glendronach or Glenellicky 15s are great around $100. Same with there's a bunch of good 15-year-old whiskeys right around there that are, I think, worth your pickup. Old Pulteney, another really good 15.
Oh yeah, that's one I like the Old Pulteney 15 better than the Old Pulteney New 18. Believe it or not, that's a huge difference for me. That's just my own personal, preference in that. Looks like Stephen agrees with Dustin about the Talisker 15. Definitely.
Getting a sample of Talisker 15, if I'm not mistaken, soon, Telex.
Nice. That'll be awesome. I can't wait, because Talisker is one of my favorite distilleries. I'm looking forward to seeing what that's about. The new Glen Scotia at 14 cast strength, 80-ish is great. Wow. Now, this is one I did not know about. Have you heard of this one?
Is that the Tawny Port?
Good question. Cohen, let us know if it's. Oh, he says it's the Tawny Port finish.
I got a sample of that from Whiskey Pilgrim. It's really good.
Ooh, you did, you bastard.
Yeah, it's really good. I think I tried it 2 happy hours ago. It's really good.
He's the new Kenny. He's a bastard.
God damn it, Kenny.
Exactly. No, I'll have to get my hands on one of my own hands on that, because I do love Glen Scotia, and I'll be all about trying it. We've got rows of local barley 9 and 10 here. Wow, that I wouldn't be upset with that either. Mike and I've gotten to the Lefroy 25, the most Lefroy of the 25s I've had. Yeah, that's one I want to try with the malt here. I'm going to hopefully go in on a bottle of Lefroy some year. I'm not sure what year, because you already have the 25, don't you?
Yeah, I can send you a sample of the 25.
Maybe we
2016 or 2017.
Dude, I ain't bitching.
Yeah, no.
You can give me 1803 for all I care. But I'll go in on a different bottle. Maybe we can find maybe a Lagavulin 25 or something. I don't know, something crazy.
Yeah, man, and that brings up a good question. So, like next week, we've just replenished our samples with everybody. Well, I'll let you go through the chat first, and then we'll get into that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm
go for it.
The 15 is the sweetest. Wow, that'll be good. Sweetest. The Deanston 9, Bordeaux. I've heard lots of good things about them.
So good. That's going to be in my top 5 whiskeys of the year. I'm just letting you know right now.
What year are you talking about on that Glen Scotia? Not the 15, I hope, because that's overly high.
Yeah, that's high for the 15.
That should be the 15 should be like 70, 80
max.
Yeah, max. I mean, the 109 should be like the 18, maybe. They do have an 18 bourbon cask. That might be that one. Yeah, on that one. Kleinleach 23. Wow, that'd be crazy. I'd love to get my hands on a Kleinleach old one. The Elements series. I've heard of that before. I haven't had any of the Elements series, but I'm going to try it. Wow. Glen Scotia's 14 Tawny Port. It's only $80. Wow. He's got 3 of them. That's crazy, man. I got my hands on one of those. Huh. Old Pulteney 21. The new one, the old one. The old one, I'll agree. The new one,
where's the new one? I think it's just 18 or 25 nowadays, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know.
Yeah, and when I had them, I had the Huddart, the new 15, the new 18, and the new 25, and the new 35. I had like a bunch of them at an expo. And I tell you what, the 15 to me was the star of the show on all of that stuff. I mean, the 35 was.
I'm personally finding that 15s are the star of the show for a lot of whiskeys for me. I feel like it's becoming I'm starting to realize it's the sweet spot for a lot of good Scotch, but that's just me. I like a little youthfulness, but also a little complexity, and it seems like 15s are really doing it.
Oh yeah, the soap. Oh man, the Old Pulteney 18. It had like this weird soapiness to one of these. I think it was the 20. Might have been the 25. One of those Old Pulteney new ones had this like weird soapiness. The same thing I got from like a local Oman 12. It was crazy. I'm not sure why, but hopefully it was just a bad glass or something. But I don't know. Samuel Cass agrees about Talisker being one of the best. Yeah, I don't mind the pepper. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Stephen. We really, really appreciate it.
Man. Stephen, I can't wait for those, man. We're going to do those blind, brother. That's going to be so much fun. Cheers.
It's going to be awesome. I have a good feeling that we're going to have a lot of fun with those.
Yeah, we will. We'll give you the heads up on the day we do those too, for sure.
Even Muser here loves the Distiller's Edition of the Talisker, so we're in agreement on that.
I love me some Talisker Distiller's Edition.
Yeah, the 18 at 109 is actually a really good price. I mean, it is straightforward bourbon cask.
No, it's not. It's a sherry finish or PX finish.
It is, but I mean, I don't want to say it was let down. To me, I got a lot of like more like bourbon notes than sherry notes from it. It was kind of, I mean, if you if you said Telex, which one would you buy? I would buy the 15, honestly.
That's the weird paradox because the 15, I remember the first time I tried the 15, I remember thinking there has to be some sherry in this, and there isn't. It's all ex bourbon. And whereas the 18 has the PX finish, it's so weird. It's so weird.
It doesn't taste like it.
I'm with you on that.
I'm wondering if they fucked up the description, because I swear to God, the 15 tastes like it's got sherry.
I felt the exact same way. It's apparently all ex bourbon.
That's insane, dude. I'm telling you, it's insane. Yeah, $58.
Everybody should have a bottle of Glen Scotia 15. It's.
I mean, how could you not for $60 for a 15-year-old?
It's the best 15-year-old whiskey on the market. I think hands down. I don't think that's controversial at all. It's so good.
Then he started at 250 and like 280. Wow. 18 at 46% is what it is. Yeah, that's another thing. It's not a very high ABV, so it's kind of one of those. I would probably go with the 15 before I would go to the 18. But if you already like the 15, you already had the Victoriana, and you already had the double cask, the entry level, then I might go for the 18 just to round out the core basically. Huh. Oh, the 20 carriages. That's the funny thing. A lot of these guys I've noticed have really gotten into the 20 carriages. I mean, I thought it was a decent whiskey, but it didn't blow my mind like some people,
what was your score on that one?
If I remember right, and I don't have it like in front of me, I think I gave it like a 3.75, something.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
It's high end, but it wasn't like blow my socks off. The cask, was outstanding, or the, I even like the Fino better, I think, than that one. I
did too. Slightly.
Yeah, barely. It was like this. It was really close. It wasn't like a blowout, but it definitely was a hell of a lot better than the Drum. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
By far, right? Let me go back to some of these. Let's see, 20. The 15 tastes like they use sherry for sure. Yeah, I'm the same way. I could have sworn that there was some both, like, if not just Oloroso, but also some PX sherry in the Glen Scotia 15. It's weird how sherry forward.
Yeah, totally, GH. Man, I thought they did for sure, and like I think that speaks to just how much of a quality dram the Glen Scotia 15 is, because the complexity level is just off the chain on that. It has that rich molasses, as the Brits call it, treacle note. But man, there's so much complexity going on in that. I swore there was sherry in that, and apparently there isn't. It's all ex bourbon. I mean, if you're getting that out of an ex bourbon barrels exclusively, God, man.
I swear there's a misprint somewhere. I would bet money on it.
And I am so glad I have an extra bottle of that. It's so good. It's so fucking good.
It's one of the best 15-year-olds I've ever had, to be honest with
you. No doubt.
Between the Glen Scotia 15 and 18, and prefer the 18, it's $100, and the 15 is $55. Okay. Well,
yeah, the 18 I know explicitly has the PX finish.
The weird thing though is when I say I'm not knocking the 18 as being a bad whiskey by any means. It's solid. To me, it's more of a solid bourbon, like ex-bourbon cask whiskey, and it's like in your face, like caramel, toffee, molasses, real thick, and I mean it has those qualities. But I'm surprised that I'm surprised, Andrew, that you didn't prefer the sherry one, but it might just be.
If folks in the chat don't know, you need to know. Get a bottle of Glen Scotia 15 now.
Oh, yeah.
To be your next purchase. And I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. It's only going to go up in price the more people realize it. So, get yourself a bottle now. You will not be disappointed. It is an amazingly good dram.
Cohen's saying the 14 is closer than the 16. Now, the 16 is the new exclusive, the travel retail version that Glen Scotia has. I haven't tried the new 16 yet. I've been kind of tempted to buy it. I do know where I can get it, so I might get it for us. Are you into maybe trying a 16?
Oh, most definitely.
it's almost a year of tawny port finishing. It's almost 15 before they put it in port. It's almost a year in the port. Okay, huh. I'll have to try that because I've heard about the 16. I've seen it, and I was thinking, well, maybe it's just like the 15 in an extra year. But it sounds like it's a whole different type of whiskey. So I'll see if we can get our hands on that one then, maybe.
Yeah.
Partly sherried. That's what I thought so too,
Oh,
Cohen.
really? It doesn't say it. Like, I've never seen any information to say the contrary. That's good to know, because I swear, you taste that, there has to be sherry in that.
Let me see if what they say on. I haven't looked in a while. Let me see what they say on Distiller, just for giggles, because they're usually pretty good about telling you what the cask offering is on that. Glen Scotia 15, and that is.
They say it's ex-bourbon.
Yeah, they say it's straight ex-bourbon. So I would go with their. I mean, their experts are pretty decent. They're not always right, but
This is what I mean, man. Like, it's a weird, because you taste that, there's just no way that's ex-bourbon completely. But man, that's the tail of the tape.
It's weird because every place I've looked at says it's just straightforward ex-bourbon.
Yeah,
so
I know, right? It doesn't make any sense.
I agree with Andrew. Try the 15, try the Victoriana, the 18, and the double cask. Those are the really good core they have pretty much right now. All for a reasonable price. I really got a burnt carb taste from this.
I mean, you're looking at all you got.
That's rough, man.
Burnt carb.
I didn't like the 16 as good as the 15. Yeah. What was lacking in that one, Andrew? I'm just curious. What was it about the 16 that you didn't, was what made it not as good as the 15? Was it the lack of sherry profile? Was it was it lack of just strong notes in general? Was it weak? I don't know what the ABV difference is on the 16 versus the 15, so that could be, possible too.
Yeah. So Telex, I'm thinking about our tasting next week, and I do have a proposition, but I want to give folks in the chat an opportunity to weigh in. So
Sure.
We have shared ourselves some new samples. My proposition next week is that we go full bourbon.
Okay.
And the bourbon tasting would be Four Roses single barrel at barrel proof OESK and Elijah Craig barrel proof batch B520. However, we also have some other ones that we could potentially do if folks are not interested in seeing Telex do some bourbon samples. What else have we given? Balcones Brimstone, Amroot Fusion, Tamdu 15, 21-year-old Altmore. So there are a bunch of options. We definitely have options. But if we're going to do bourbon, those are the two I suggest. Stephen Connor says no.
No to what, though? I don't even know what he's saying no to. Do you know what that's about?
So if Telex was going to do a bourbon night, I've set him up with two bourbons. Four Roses OESK cast strength. It's a 9.5-year-old, 50-some% barrel proof, 57%. Or we're going to do, and it would be Elijah Craig barrel proof batch B520, which I think is one of the best Elijah Craig barrel proofs that's come out in 2 years. So those are the bourbon options. Otherwise, we have a bunch of other whiskeys.
Let's say this. If his samples come in before next week, let's do those first.
Yes, agreed. Totally agreed.
And then if after his samples, then we should do the bourbon tasting. I'm fine with that, definitely. And I really appreciate you sharing them with me, because it's not something normally I would even try on my own, after not getting into it. But I will say that I have enjoyed some really good bourbons coming back, and having some select few, like that Colonel E.H. Taylor Bottled and Bond will go down as one of the best in history. The Midsummer Night's Drams, I've had a few of those. Those are really good. And even the High West Campfire I thought was pretty decent. Have you had that one before?
I have.
What did you think about that one?
I liked it. I mean, it wasn't one of my favorites, but I liked it. Yeah, I'm just really excited for the opportunity that we get to have. Yeah, I agree with Stephen and DH Silv. The B520 Elijah Craig is one of the best Elijah Craigs in dude. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Elijah Craig barrel proof. I think it's the best thing you can get value wise and quality wise. But B520 is freaking amazing. The difference between B520 and other Elijah Craig barrel proofs at 67% is it's so rounded. It's just so rounded. Like, it's ridiculously rounded. You can almost drink it neat. I'm excited to put Telex through. Like, if Telex doesn't like those two bourbons, he won't like bourbon ever. Is my hypothesis.
Oh Lordy! What if I fall in love with these? That'll be kind of scary.
It'll be a good thing. There's good whiskey out there, my friend. The other thing we got to do is some Irish at some point, which we're going to do. I got a couple Irishes that we're going to do eventually.
I'm going to try to find. Have you already got a Middleton by chance?
Mm-mm.
I'll try to find us a Middleton and maybe a Connemara. Have you had a Connemara before?
Yes, that's the peated Irish.
Yeah,
12-year and an NAS.
You already had those before?
I've had the NAS, but I would totally get the 12. I would get either because it's a peated Irish. Why not?
Okay, I'll see. I'll have to do some homework, but I'll see if I can find like a Middleton and maybe like a peated Connemara. 12 would be preferable if I can find it, but you never know.
No, dude, you need to get your hands on a Redbreast 12 cask strength. I also have some samples I can send you. I have a 12-year-old Napoe Castle Barolo cask. Dude, oh man, there are some Irish whiskeys out there, man. I'm just scratching the surface right now. There are some seriously good Irish whiskeys. And we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for opportunities for that. Jameson Cooper's Crows, which is like an Iberian wine cask finish.
Oh, nice.
I don't even know what to expect from that.
I've heard
I agree with you. I agree. The B50, the B520, you can drink neat, and the C919 is right behind it. I'm 100% with you on that.
The Iberian, I'm familiar with the area, but yeah, that'd be interesting. I've never had any wine from that area, so that should be interesting to see what it's like, at least.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Well, I guess we better close up shop, and I do have to work tomorrow, unfortunately, but
I hear you.
It's always fun, man. It's like it flies by. I blink, and it's already 2 hours away.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't yet, do hit like on this video. That's the least you can do. Show us some support. And if you haven't subscribed, hit me up, Malt Muser Whiskey on YouTube. Telex the Whiskey Tech. Do subscribe. We do this every Tuesday. Whiskey Chat, 9 until 11 p.m. Eastern. We also do a happy hour on my channel, 8 to 9 Eastern. Would love to see some folks in the chat for that. And appreciate your all support. It's been another really fun week. And with that, my man Telex.
And I really appreciate that Highland Park 21, man. That was unreal. Like, solid. Whenever I get a +4 out of 5-star whiskey, I'm very thankful and have to do the kowtow. So I really appreciate it.
You bet, homie. Always, man.
And I'll see if I can get you. I'll go ahead and open one of these, the Ardbeg 19, and try to get you out a good sample of that, maybe.
We'll do it, man. We're gonna keep this up every week. So be here or be nowhere, man. As Michael Savage, the crazy conspiracy theorist, would say.
Be there or be square. Get your glad rags on, man.
We appreciate you guys all so very much. We appreciate all the support you give to our channel, and honestly, you know, it's you guys that make this as fun as it is. Otherwise, it'd be just Telex and I yelling at each other, and well, what fun would that be? Much love to y'all. Stay safe, be well, wear a mask, all that jazz, and until then, see you guys next week on the Telex and Malt Show.
Sláinte, guys. See ya.
Peace.